it's me again, just your ordinary Potter girl, and in today's video, I will give you my May wrap-up. Okay, so in total in May I read 6 books, which is not the best reading month for me, but we'll just have to go with it. And out of the 6 books, I have 3 here, and 3 I read in ebook form, so I don't have them here. So that's the reason why there are only 3 books. Okay, so let's jump right into the video. The first book I read was Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. This follows American-born Chinese Rachel Chu when her boyfriend Nicholas Young invites her to a trip to Singapore, the country where he was born. There she finds out that his family is one of the richest in the country, and let me tell you, they are not just rich, they are actually crazy rich. Okay, so this book has different perspectives, so we follow, of course, Rachel Chu, but also other members out of Nicholas' family, and yeah, just some people from there. I'm going to show you a few of the perspectives. For example, here you can see this chapter is written from the point of view of Peg Lin, who is a friend of Rachel, and then it also says that it's in Singapore, because some of the characters are actually also in Paris and some are in London. So yeah, we change perspective and also the place changes. Okay, so onto my review. This was really a nice read and an easy read. There was also a lot of information about Singapore's culture. Okay, so here you can see that at the bottom there's this line, and under the line there are all kind of terms explained that are important in Singaporean culture and that we don't know about. So it's also kind of cool to get some background information on the country that the story takes place in. There are also words that are commonly used in the language in Singapore, and they are also explained in there. As I said, there are footnotes in many pages that explain you background knowledge of the Singaporean culture and these words, for example. So it's very well made in both showing you differences in the Singaporean culture to the culture that we know, but also explaining them. Okay, so although I did enjoy that there were so many different perspectives of the story, that made it quite complicated to follow this book. So in terms of that, you liked some characters more than others, and then you were waiting for a chapter from their point of view, and you kind of wanted to skip other chapters. So this is actually a thing I think is very well done usually in Cassandra Clare books when there are different perspectives, because usually then I really just want to follow the story, whereas in this one there were some storylines I was much more interested in than other storylines, and because of that I wanted to skip chapters from certain characters, but of course I didn't do that. So yeah, although it was fun to have these different perspectives, it was also kind of sometimes slowing the story a bit. And by the way, this felt a lot like Gossip Girl for adults, because there were also these crazy rich people who spent money on random things like thousands and 100,000 of dollars just on some random things, but also they are quite tight on other things, like they are not happy to pay for a taxi or these things, for example, which is also kind of funny because you would think, yeah, well, they would spend like $1 million on a necklace, but no, $50 for a taxi, no, that's a bit much, we'll walk, but yeah, that was kind of funny. Okay, so all in all, I did enjoy this book, and if you want to have an easy read for the summer maybe, or just in general, with some cultural information in it, then I think this is the book for you. Next up, I have the Summer Turned Pretty trilogy, so I read the whole trilogy, each book after the other, and this is a contemporary series which follows Belly and her friends during the time they spend in the summer in their summer house together. So I don't have much to say on that one, other than that it was just an easy teen summer read, and I think it was just okay, but I much prefer the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy, also by Jenny Han, because first of all I read this trilogy, and because I liked it I thought, well, why not pick up The Summer I Turned Pretty, and as I said, it was okay, but this one I think is far better. And yeah, in the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy, it was kind of, the first book would have been quite a good standalone without the ultimate ending that is explained in the beginning of book 2. But I think without that, that would have been a solid standalone. But during the whole trilogy, I think Belly sometimes was quite annoying and just had some stupid decisions. I was like, yeah, why would she actually do that? And also some of the other characters, there were things that they did and I thought they would be explained later, but they were never really explained why they did certain things. But yeah, all in all, it was okay to read. I didn't hate it. It is okay as a summer read, and if you're just looking for a light summer book, then this is not bad. And yeah, it was just not the book, or the books, there were 3 books for me, but I wouldn't say, no, it's terrible, you can't read it. I'd just say this trilogy is better, at least for me. Okay, so on to my next book, which is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I actually read this one in ebook form, so I don't have it here, so you will have to live with that pretty drawing of me. By the way, I have no drawing skills at all. I can't draw, I can't sing also, just in case you wanted to know. But yeah, I drew a little circus tent, and by the way, in the Night Circus there is everything black and white other than some red bits, so I drew a black and white circus tent and then a little red flag just for explanation. But yeah, this book is written by Erin Morgenstern. I'm just going to read you the description that the book has on the back, which says, "The circus arrives without warning. No announcement preceded. It is simply there, when yesterday it was not. Within the black and white striped canvas tent," like that one there, "is an utterly unique experience full of breathtaking amazements. It is called Le Cirque du Rêves, and it is only open at night. But behind the scenes, a fierce competition is underway, a duel between 2 young magicians, Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood expressly for this purpose by their instructors. Unbeknownst to them, this is a game in which only one can be left standing, and the circus is the stage for a remarkable battle of imagination and will." Okay, so this was part of the description that the book has on the back, and I think this sounds really interesting because this is just such a different book from anything you've read before, because you read it as if you were a guest of the circus sometimes, and it follows these various different perspectives which all have one thing in common, and that is that they have something to do with the circus. Okay, so as I said, the circus follows our 2 main protagonists, Celia and Marco, but also other kind of minor characters, and some of them become more important in the end. And I have to say that while reading it, I really loved this book. It was such a clever and complex story, and I was so invested in it the whole time I read it. And yeah, I was waiting for a spectacular ending where all the different plot lines were coming together and there would be some kind of huge twist, that something I didn't see coming all the time. But sadly, that didn't happen, so the ending was okay, but it was not as good as the rest of the book, and then as good as I had expected it to be. So that was kind of sad, because at the end I was a bit disappointed from the book, although the whole time I read it, I really enjoyed this story. So yeah, it is kind of hard to follow because, as I said, we have all these different perspectives, but additional to that, there's also a change of time all the time, so there are time jumps. So once you will be in that year and then you go 4 years into the future or 2 years back into the past, and it's all kind of confusing. So yeah, I read some chapters not knowing exactly when they did take place because it was too much to keep track of, but I still understood the story, and it was not that I was completely confused. It's just a bit hard to follow. But yeah, all in all, this was a solid read, and I would recommend picking it up because, as I said, while reading that was much fun to read. Just keep in mind that although the story is complex and quite hard to follow sometimes, the ending may not be as good as you expect it to be. But if you are going into the story knowing that the end will maybe be not as good as you expect, I think you will enjoy the book even more. But yeah, I did really enjoy it, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. mainly because of the ending. I think otherwise it would have been a 5 out of 5 star book. But because I thought the ending would be so great, I was quite disappointed by it. Okay, so onto the last book I have to share with you, which is The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is the first book in the Eldest Curses series, which follows Magnus and Alec from the Mortal Instruments during their adventures in Europe, especially in Paris and Venice. So we follow them during their adventures on holiday. And yeah, during the whole book, Alec and Magnus try to find out more about a demon worshipping cult called the Crimson Hand, which is causing a lot of trouble all over the world. And I did enjoy reading this book, but it's just a bit shorter than the usual Cassandra Clare books. I'm just going to give you a comparison. So here you can see the Red Scrolls of Magic, and for example this is Lord of Shadows. So you can see that this is much shorter. So the Red Scrolls has just about 400 pages and Lord of Shadows has like 700. So because of that, the story seemed a bit less complex to me, and there was not as much kind of bonus backstory as in the other books. But it was really interesting getting to know some backstory of some of the characters that we already know from the Mortal Instruments. For example, Eileen and Helen. I did really enjoy that. Okay, so all in all, I did really enjoy reading this book, and because it is much shorter than all of the other Cassandra Clare books, as I just said, it's a little less complex, but still, I did really enjoy it. I was not really investigated in the story until like the last 100 pages, but I still enjoyed it. And yeah, it was fun to follow Magnus and Alec on their adventures around Europe, and it was nice getting to know more of the backstory of other characters, as I said, Eileen and Helen. And yeah, that was very nice. I was sometimes a bit confused of which things already happened and which didn't. But all in all, it was a fun read. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos from me, click the subscribe button. I will also leave links to my other Cassandra Clare book reviews that I did, as well as the other book reviews that I did. I will leave a link to that book review playlist. I also do all sorts of bookish videos, for example also hauls, but also book quizzes. So if you're interested in, for example, a Harry Potter book quiz or a Percy Jackson book quiz, or I even did a selection book quiz, then click the link to the playlist or just check out my channel and you will find the videos there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!